The first thing you need to know about my wife Miranda is that she could justify charging admission to a free concert. The second thing is that I was stupid enough to love her anyway. At least until I found that selfie on her phone showing her tongue halfway down Chase Bronson's throat while sitting in his cherry-red Porsche. If sarcasm burned calories, I'd be ripped by now. My name is Tom Garrison, and I build custom homes in the Texas Hill Country. Not the glamorous kind of construction you see on TV. The kind where you deal with septic systems, foundation issues, and clients who think marble countertops grow on trees. I'm 42, practical as a hammer, and apparently blind as a bat when it comes to reading women. Miranda, Randy to her wine mom friends, runs a Pilates studio called Core Bliss in downtown Fredericksburg. She's 38, blonde, and has the kind of smile that makes men forget their own names, including me, for 15 years of marriage. Our house sits on 12 acres outside town, a rambling ranch-style place I built myself. Stone and cedar, wide porches, the works. Randy always complained it wasn't fancy enough for her tastes, but it was paid for, which counted for something in my book. That Tuesday morning in October, she cornered me in the kitchen while I was drinking coffee and reviewing blueprints for the Henderson project. "Tom, honey, we need to talk about my student loans." I looked up from my plans. "What student loans?" She twisted her wedding ring, a tell I should have recognized years ago. "From my business certification programs, the Pilates instructor courses, the wine sommelier training. It's all coming due at once." "How much are we talking about?" $37,000. Coffee went everywhere. I grabbed paper towels, buying time to process. 37 grand? Randy, you never mentioned loans that big. I didn't want to worry you. She moved closer, running her hand down my arm. But if we don't pay it off soon, it'll hurt our credit. You know how important that is for your business. She had a point. Construction contracts often required credit checks, but something felt off. "Let me see the paperwork." Her smile flickered. "It's all online now. Digital statements. Then pull it up on your phone." "The website's been down all week. Some kind of server maintenance, right, and I was the King of England." "I'll call them directly," I said. "Get the payoff amounts, set up a payment plan." "No." The word came out sharper than she intended. She softened her tone. "I mean, I already talked to them. They want a lump sum by the end of the month, or the interest rate jumps to 28%. 28%. That was loan shark territory. "Which companies are these loans with?" Another ring twist. "Different ones. Educational funding groups, very specialized." I nodded slowly. "Okay, let me think about it." She kissed my cheek, leaving lipstick that smelled like lies. "Thanks, honey. I knew you'd understand." After she left for the studio, I sat in my kitchen staring at the coffee stains on my blueprints. 15 years of marriage, and my wife was asking for enough money to buy a luxury car. For educational loans she'd never mentioned, from companies she couldn't name. I called my friend Cal Martinez, a former police detective who now ran a private investigation service. We'd known each other since high school, back when he was skinny and I had hair. "Tom Garrison," Cal's gravelly voice came through the phone. "What's got you calling before noon? Usually means trouble. I need a favor. A discreet one." "Your wife? How'd you know?" 30 years of marriage taught me that tone. "What's she done?" I explained about the loans. Cal listened without interrupting, which was one of the things that made him good at his job. 37 grand for Pilates classes, he said when I finished. "That's some expensive stretching." "Can you look into it?" Quietly. "I'll make some calls. Give me her full name, social security number if you have it, and any bank information." I provided what I could, feeling like a traitor even as I did it. But something was wrong, and I'd learned long ago that problems don't fix themselves. 2 days later, Cal called back. "You might want to sit down for this." I was already sitting, but I braced myself anyway. "There are no student loans under your wife's name. Not for $37,000, not for $37. I checked every major educational lender, plus the specialty companies. My coffee mug hit the table harder than necessary. Then what's the money for? That's where it gets interesting. I found a car loan in her name. Guess what kind of car? Tell me. 2023 Porsche 911 Carrera. Cherry red. Loan amount? $34,900. The room went sideways for a moment. She doesn't drive a Porsche. No, but Chase Bronson does. I did some digging on him too. Real estate developer, flashy dresser, and according to county records, his Porsche is registered to an LLC that your wife co-signed for. Chase Bronson. I knew the name. He'd tried to hire me for a development project last year. Slick hair, expensive suits, the kind of guy who called everyone buddy and tipped in hundreds to impress waitresses. There's more, Cal continued. Credit card in her name, but the billing address is Bronson's home office. Balance of about $3,000. Charges for restaurants, hotels, jewelry stores. I closed my eyes. How long has this been going on? Based on the financial trail? At least 8 months, maybe longer. 8 months. While I was working 12-hour days to keep our construction business profitable, my wife was financing her boyfriend's midlife crisis. Tom? You still there? Yeah, thanks, Cal. Send me everything you found. You want me to keep digging? I thought about it. Did I really want to know how deep this rabbit hole went? Yeah. Keep digging. That evening, Randy came home from the studio wearing new yoga pants that probably cost more than my work boots. She was humming something under her breath, looking happier than I'd seen her in months. How was your day? She asked, kissing my cheek with the same lips that had been on Chase Bronson's. Productive. Yours. Great. We had 12 people in the evening class, and I think I'm finally getting through to Jennifer about her core alignment. She moved around the kitchen, making herself a smoothie with the expensive organic ingredients she'd started buying recently. Everything about her seemed different now that I knew the truth. The new clothes, the mysterious phone calls, the sudden interest in girls' weekends in Austin. Randy, about those student loans. She paused mid-blend. What about them? I've been thinking. Maybe we should consolidate them with our other debt. Get a better interest rate. That's not necessary. I told you, they want a lump sum. Right, but if we're smart about it, we could save thousands in interest. I just need the account numbers and contact information. The blender whirred to life, drowning out her response. When it stopped, she was shaking her head. It's too complicated. These aren't regular student loans. They're professional development financing, very specialized terms. Then let me talk to someone who understands specialized terms. I know people. Tom. Her voice carried a warning. I've got this handled. I just need the money. $37,000. Yes. For Pilates classes. Her jaw tightened. For my career. For our future. I nodded slowly. Our future. Right. She studied my face, looking for cracks in my performance. I'd learned a few things about acting over the years, mostly from watching her. I'm going to take a bath, she announced. Long day. As she headed upstairs, her phone buzzed on the counter. She'd forgotten it, which never happened. Randy guarded that phone like it contained nuclear launch codes. The text preview showed on the lock screen. Chase. Can't wait for tomorrow night. Wear the red dress. Tomorrow night. When she'd told me she had a client appreciation dinner at the studio. I took a photo of the screen with my own phone, then set hers back exactly where she'd left it. When she came back down 20 minutes later, wrapped in her silk robe, she grabbed the phone without checking it. I'm exhausted, she said. Think I'll turn in early. Good idea. Big day tomorrow with that client dinner. She nodded, not meeting my eyes. Should be fun. Kendra's catering it. Kendra owned the wine bar next to Randy's studio. She was also one of Randy's closest friends and biggest enablers. If anyone would cover for an affair, it would be Kendra. After Randy went to bed, I sat on my back porch with a beer and stared out at the dark hills. 15 years of marriage, and it had come to this. My wife was stealing money to finance her boyfriend's lifestyle, lying to my face, and planning to meet him tomorrow night while I sat at home like an idiot. But here's the thing about being underestimated your whole life. People forget that quiet doesn't mean stupid, and practical doesn't mean pushover. I opened my laptop and started making lists, financial records to gather, questions to ask, people to call. If Randy wanted to play games, I'd show her what happened when you challenged someone who built things for a living. Because when you construct houses, you learn that everything starts with a solid foundation. And when that foundation cracks, the whole structure comes down. The next evening, I told Randy I had to work late on the Henderson project. She seemed relieved, which should have hurt more than it did. Instead, I felt nothing but cold calculation. I parked across from Chez Laurent, the fancy French restaurant in Fredericksburg where Chase's credit card, the one Randy co-signed for, had charges from the previous month. Cal had done his homework. At 7:30, Chase's red Porsche pulled into the valet parking. He stepped out wearing a suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. A minute later, Randy emerged from the passenger side. She was wearing the red dress. The red dress was one I'd bought her for our anniversary 3 years ago. She'd worn it exactly once, to dinner with me, and claimed it was too fancy for most occasions. Apparently, screwing around behind your husband's back qualified as fancy enough. I took photos with my phone's zoom lens as they walked into the restaurant, Chase's hand on the small of her back like he owned her. Maybe he did, for $37,000. My phone buzzed with a text from Randy. "Dinner running long. Don't wait up." I texted back, "No problem. Love you." The lies were getting easier. Instead of going home, I drove to Chase's house, a gaudy McMansion in the hills of Fredericksburg development. His Porsche wasn't there, obviously, but I wanted to see how the other half lived. The house was all glass and angles, the kind of place that looked impressive in magazines, but had no soul. A BMW was parked in the circular driveway. I recognized it as belonging to Sophia Reeves, another local realtor. Sophia and Randy had a complicated relationship, friends on the surface, competitors underneath. They smiled at each other in public and sharpened their knives in private. Interesting. What was Sophia doing at Chase's house while he was out with my wife? I called Cal from my truck. "Working late?" he answered. Following up on our conversation, "I'm sitting outside Chase Bronson's place. He's at dinner with Randy, but there's another woman's car here." "BMW? Blonde, about 40, looks like she stepped out of a real estate billboard." "That's her." "You know Sophia Reeves?" "I know she filed a complaint against Bronson with the Texas Real Estate Commission 6 months ago. Something about a deal gone bad and missing earnest money. The plot thickened." "What kind of missing money?" $50,000 from a commercial property sale. Sophia claimed Bronson diverted it to personal use. Case was dismissed for lack of evidence, but she wasn't happy about it. I filed that information away. "Can you dig deeper into Bronson's finances?" I'm starting to think my wife isn't his only source of funding. Already on it. Guy's got more debt than a lottery winner's relatives. The Porsche alone is just the beginning. After Cal hung up, I sat in my truck thinking. Chase was playing multiple angles. My wife for emotional and financial support, probably other women for the same. But what was Sophia's role in all this? My phone buzzed with another text from Randy. "Heading home soon. Thanks for being understanding about work stuff. Work stuff. Right." I drove home and was in bed, pretending to sleep, when she slipped in at midnight. She smelled like expensive cologne that wasn't mine, and wine that cost more than my daily rate. The next morning, she was unusually cheerful, humming while she made coffee and checking her phone every few minutes with a smile that made my stomach turn. "How was the client dinner?" I asked. "Wonderful." We booked 3 new corporate packages. Kendra outdid herself with the catering. That's great. Which companies? She paused, coffee mug halfway to her lips. What? The corporate packages. Which companies signed up? Oh, local businesses. Nothing you'd recognize. Another lie. I was keeping score now. I might know them. I work with a lot of companies around here. Tom, you don't need to worry about every detail of my business. Her voice carried an edge. Just like I don't ask about every nail and board in your projects. Fair point, except nails and boards didn't require $37,000 in fictional student loans. After she left for the studio, I called Jill Rodriguez, a forensic accountant I'd worked with on a construction lawsuit. If anyone could unravel Chase's financial web, it was Jill. Tom Garrison, she said when she answered. Please tell me you're not being sued again. Nothing like that. I need help with a personal matter, financial investigation. Divorce? Maybe. Depends what we find. I explained the situation without going into too much detail. Jill listened with the same focused attention she brought to analyzing complex financial records. Send me everything you have, she said. Bank statements, loan documents, credit reports. I'll need authorization to access your joint accounts. You'll have it by this afternoon. And Tom, whatever you're planning, make sure it's legal. I won't be part of anything that crosses lines. Understood. That afternoon, I met Cal at Murphy's Bar, a dive on the outskirts of town where construction workers and cops went to drink beer and complain about their jobs. Cal was already there, nursing a Shiner Bock and looking like he had news. Your wife's boyfriend is in deep, he said without preamble. Deeper than the Mariana Trench. I ordered a beer and settled in. How deep? 3 mortgages on his house, all with different lenders. Credit cards maxed out, business loans in default. The real estate commission complaint was just the tip of the iceberg. I found 2 other women who've filed civil suits against him for fraud. What kind of fraud? Investment schemes. He convinces women to invest in his development projects, takes their money, and the projects never materialize. Classic conman stuff. I drank my beer and processed this. So Randy isn't funding his lifestyle. She's funding his survival. Looks that way. And here's the kicker. I talked to Vince Patterson, Bronson's former business partner. They had a falling out last year over missing funds. Vince thinks Bronson's been running a Ponzi scheme, using new investors to pay off old ones. Vince Patterson. I knew him from the local contractors association. Good guy, honest businessman. Would Vince talk to me? Already asked. He's free tomorrow morning. Seems he's got plenty to say about Chase Bronson. That evening, Randy announced she was going to Austin for the weekend with her girlfriends, a wellness retreat at some fancy spa. Which spa? I asked. The Sage Retreat. Kendra found it online, very exclusive. I made a mental note to have Cal check if the Sage Retreat existed and if Randy had actually made a reservation. Sounds expensive. We all deserve a little pampering now and then. She was packing her weekend bag, folding clothes with unusual care. Besides, I've been so stressed about the loan situation. The loan situation she'd created by financing her boyfriend's debts. Speaking of which, I've been thinking about that $37,000. Her hands stilled on a silk blouse. Oh. Maybe we should take it out of the business account. Get it handled quickly, before the interest rate jumps. That's not necessary. I told you I'm working on it. How? She turned to face me, and for a moment, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Fear? Guilt? It was gone too quickly to identify. I have some options. Private lenders who specialize in this kind of debt. Private lenders, also known as loan sharks. Randy, if you're in trouble... I'm not in trouble. The words came out sharp. I just need a little time to sort things out. With Chase Bronson's help? The question hung in the air like smoke. Her face went pale, then flushed red. What are you talking about? I saw the text on your phone. about wearing the red dress. She sat down hard on the bed. For a moment, I thought she might confess everything. Instead, she went on the offensive. "You went through my phone?" "It was sitting on the counter." The text popped up. "So you're spying on me now?" "I'm trying to understand why my wife needs $37,000 for student loans that don't exist." Her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "They do exist. You just don't understand." "I understand that Chase Bronson drives a red Porsche that you co-signed the loan for. I understand that there's a credit card in your name being used at restaurants and hotels. I understand that you've been lying to me for months." She stood up slowly, her hands shaking. "Tom, it's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." For a long moment, she just stared at me. Then she grabbed her weekend bag and headed for the door. "I need some time to think." "The spa weekend?" She paused at the bedroom door. "Yes, the spa weekend." After she left, I called Cal. "The Sage Retreat doesn't exist," he said before I could ask. "At least not in Austin. I found a Sage Day spa, but they don't do overnight packages." "Where is she really going? Want me to follow her?" I thought about it. Did I really want to know where my wife spent her weekend getaway with her boyfriend? "Yeah, follow her." "And Tom?" "Vince Patterson moved our meeting to tonight. Says he's got something you need to see." I met Vince at a coffee shop in Johnson City, far enough from Fredericksburg that we wouldn't run into anyone we knew. He was a big man with calloused hands and tired eyes, the look of someone who'd been betrayed by a trusted friend. "I should have seen it coming," he said, stirring sugar into his coffee. "Chase always lived beyond his means, but I thought it was just ego. Turns out it was desperation." Cal mentioned missing funds. $200,000 from our joint development account. Money from pre-sales on a subdivision that was never going to be built. When I confronted him, he claimed it was a temporary loan. Said he'd pay it back within a month. Did he? Vince laughed bitterly. "He disappeared for 3 weeks. When he came back, he had a new car and a new girlfriend. Your wife." That stung, even though I'd been expecting it. "How long have they been together?" "I first saw them together about 8 months ago, at the Wine and Dine Festival. She was hanging all over him like a cheap suit. 8 months, the same timeline Cal had found in the financial records." "There's something else," Vince continued. "Chase has been bragging about his exit strategy. Says he's got a sugar mama lined up to fund his escape from Texas. Plans to head to Colorado and start over." My blood went cold. "The sugar mama being my wife?" "That's my guess. He's been talking about liquidating everything and disappearing before his creditors catch up." I thanked Vince and drove home through the dark hills, my mind racing. Chase wasn't just having an affair with my wife. He was planning to take her money and run. And Randy was either a willing accomplice or a naive victim about to be abandoned. Either way, I wasn't going to let it happen. Saturday morning, I woke up alone in my king-sized bed and made a decision that would have shocked my wife. I was done being the understanding husband. Cal called at 8 a.m. with his surveillance report. "Your wife didn't go to Austin," he said. "She went to a cabin on Lake LBJ. Guess who was already there waiting for her? Chase. Bingo. Nice little love nest. I got photos if you want them. Send them to my email. Tom, what are you planning?" "Justice." I hung up and called Jill Rodriguez. "I've been through the financial records you sent," she said. "Your wife has co-signed for over $60,000 in debt that you're not aware of. The Porsche loan, 3 credit cards, and something called a business development loan for $25,000. Business development for what? According to the paperwork, investment in Bronson Development LLC. But here's the interesting part. The company was dissolved 6 months ago. The loan is still active, but the business doesn't exist. Fraud. Pure and simple. Jill, if I wanted to protect myself financially, what would you recommend?" "Move fast. Separate your business accounts from anything your wife has access to. Document everything. And Tom? Consider talking to a divorce attorney. After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen staring out at the hills and formulating a plan. Chase Bronson thought he was dealing with a naive small-town contractor. Time to show him what happened when you underestimated someone who'd built a successful business from nothing. First stop? The bank. Jim Morrison, no relation to the singer, had been the president of Hill Country Bank for 15 years. We'd done business together on multiple construction loans, and he'd always been straight with me. "Tom," he said, shaking my hand in his office, "what can I do for you?" I explained the situation without going into personal details. Jim listened with the poker face that made him good at his job. "You want to protect your business assets," he summarized, "and my personal assets. My wife has been making financial decisions without my knowledge. Joint accounts? Some. But the business account is solely in my name." Jim nodded. "We can add additional security measures. Require 2 forms of ID for any transactions over $1,000. Flag any unusual activity. And Tom, you might want to consider moving your money to a new account that your wife doesn't know about. Can we do that today?" "Absolutely." While Jim set up the new accounts, I called my attorney, David Chen. We'd worked together on construction contracts and the occasional dispute with suppliers. "I need advice on protecting myself in a potential divorce," I told him. "How potential are we talking?" "Very potential. Come in Monday morning. Bring all your financial records and any evidence of marital misconduct." Evidence. I had plenty of that now. My next stop was less conventional. Chase Bronson's house. It was Saturday afternoon, and he was still at the lake with my wife. His gaudy McMansion sat empty, the red Porsche nowhere to be seen. But I wasn't there for breaking and entering. I was there for reconnaissance. I parked across the street and studied the property with a contractor's eye. Expensive landscaping, probably $50,000 in decorative stonework, and a security system that looked impressive but had obvious weak points. The kind of house that screamed, "I have money" to everyone except the people Chase owed it to. My phone rang. "California." "Where are you?" he asked. "Doing research." "You?" "Following up on Sophia Reeves. Remember her BMW at Bronson's place? Turns out she's been very busy." "How busy?" "She's been talking to some of Bronson's other victims, the women he defrauded. Seems like she's organizing some kind of group action against him." "Interesting. The enemy of my enemy and all that. Think she'd be willing to talk?" "Already asked. She wants to meet with you tomorrow. Says she has information you need to hear." "Set it up." That evening I went to Murphy's bar and did something I rarely did. Got drunk. Not falling down drunk, but drunk enough that the anger felt manageable. I was nursing my 4th beer when my phone buzzed with a text from Randy. "Having amazing time at spa. Feel so relaxed. Love you." I stared at the message for a long time, then typed back, "Glad you're enjoying the lake." She didn't respond. Sunday morning, I met Sophia Reeves at a coffee shop in Dripping Springs, far from Fredericksburg's gossip network. She was exactly as Cal had described, blonde, polished, and radiating the kind of controlled anger that made smart men nervous. "Your wife is in danger," she said without preamble. "From Chase?" "From herself. She thinks she's in love with a successful businessman. What she's actually in love with is a con man who's about to disappear with her money." I sipped my coffee and waited for her to continue. Chase has done this before, at least 3 times that I can prove. He finds a lonely, affluent woman, seduces her, gets access to her finances, and vanishes when the heat gets too intense. "Why are you telling me this?" Her smile was sharp as a blade. "Because I want to see him destroyed. And because your wife isn't the only one he's targeting right now." She slid a manila folder across the table. Inside were financial documents, photographs, and what looked like a private investigator's report. "Chase is working 2 other women right now. A widow in San Antonio and a divorced real estate agent in Austin. Same pattern. Expensive dinners, romantic getaways, and requests for business loans. I studied the documents. The pattern was clear and predatory. What do you want from me? Cooperation. I'm building a case against him, civil and potentially criminal. Your wife's financial records would help establish the pattern. And in return, I help you get your money back and make sure Chase Bronson never cons another woman. It was tempting, but I had my own plans for Chase Bronson. Let me think about it. Don't think too long. He's planning to leave Texas soon, maybe as early as next week. That got my attention. How do you know? I have my sources. Chase isn't as smart as he thinks he is. After Sophia left, I sat in my truck and made a decision. Chase Bronson wanted to play games with other people's lives and money. Time to show him what happened when the game turned against him. I called Cal. I need a favor, a big one. How big? I want to disable Chase's Porsche. Nothing permanent, nothing that would hurt anyone, just something that would be embarrassing and expensive to fix. Cal was quiet for a long moment. Tom, that's vandalism. I can't be part of anything illegal. What if it wasn't vandalism? What if it was repossession? Come again? My wife co-signed for that car loan. According to the paperwork Jill found, she's legally responsible for the debt. If the loan is in default, which it probably is given Chase's financial situation, wouldn't the co-signer have rights? You'd need to check with your lawyer. I will. But hypothetically, if the loan was in default and my wife wanted to protect her credit, she might need to take possession of the collateral. Cal chuckled. Hypothetically, that might be legal, still risky. I've been taking risks my whole life. This one just has better odds. That evening, Randy came home from her spa weekend, looking relaxed and happy. She was humming again, the same tune she'd been humming all week. How was the retreat? I asked. Wonderful. So peaceful. I feel like a new woman. She did look different. There was a glow about her, the kind that comes from being thoroughly satisfied. It made me sick. That's great. I missed you. She kissed my cheek, but it felt perfunctory, like she was going through the motions. Tom, we need to talk about the loan situation. I've found a solution. Here it comes. What kind of solution? A private investor, someone who specializes in consolidating educational debt. He can pay off all the loans and give me a single monthly payment at a much lower interest rate. A private investor named Chase Bronson, no doubt. That sounds too good to be true. It's legitimate. I've checked him out thoroughly. I bet she had. What does he want in return? Just the normal terms, interest and fees, and... She twisted her wedding ring. He wants some collateral. To secure the loan. What kind of collateral? The house. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. She wanted to put our home, the house I'd built with my own hands, up as collateral for her boyfriend's debts. Randy, that's insane. We'd be risking everything. It's just a formality. I'll pay the loan back quickly, and we'll be free and clear. And if you can't pay it back? I will. But if you can't? She looked away. Then we'd have to sell the house. Sell the house and disappear to Colorado with Chase Bronson. The plan was becoming clear. I need to think about it, I said. There's a time limit. He needs an answer by Wednesday. Wednesday. 3 days to save my marriage, my home, and my sanity. Okay, let me review the terms. I don't have the paperwork yet. He's having his lawyer draw it up. Of course he was. That night after Randy went to bed, I sat on my back porch and called David Chen's emergency number. This better be important, he answered on the fourth ring. My wife wants to put our house up as collateral for a loan to pay off debts I didn't know existed. Debts that are actually funding her boyfriend's lifestyle. Can she do that without my consent? David was quiet for a moment. Not if the house is in both your names. Texas is a community property state. Any major financial decision requires both spouses' consent. And if she forged my signature? That would be fraud. Felony fraud. Good to know. Tom, what are you planning? To protect what's mine. Legally as possible. I hung up and stared out at the dark hills. 3 days to outmaneuver a con man and save my marriage, or destroy it completely. Either way, Chase Bronson was about to learn that some people fight back. Monday morning, I woke up with the clarity that comes from having nothing left to lose. Randy was already gone. An early class at the studio, she'd said, and I had work to do. First call, Jill Rodriguez. I need you to document everything, I told her. Every fraudulent loan, every forged signature, every cent that's been stolen from our accounts. I want a complete forensic accounting that would stand up in court. Tom, that's going to be expensive. Bill me. I'll pay whatever it costs. And I'll need access to your wife's personal accounts. Bank records, credit cards, everything. I'll get them. Second call, Cal Martinez. Remember that hypothetical repossession we discussed? I want to make it real. You sure about this? Dead sure. Can you find out if the Porsche loan is actually in default? Give me an hour. Third call, David Chen. I want to file for divorce, I said. Today. Tom, you need to think about this. Divorce is... My wife is planning to steal my house and disappear with her boyfriend. I'm done thinking. Come in at 10. Bring everything. By 9 a.m., I was sitting in my truck outside Core Bliss, watching my wife teach a Pilates class to a room full of women who had no idea their instructor was a fraud. Through the big windows, I could see her laughing and smiling, playing the role of the successful small business owner. My phone rang. California. The Porsche loan is 60 days past due, he said. Technically in default. Your wife, as co-signer, has the legal right to take possession of the vehicle to protect her credit. What would that involve? A tow truck, proper documentation, and a secure storage location. All legal, as long as it's done right. Set it up. When? I watched Randy demonstrate a pose to her class, her body moving with the grace that had first attracted me 15 years ago. Tonight. At 10 a.m., I was in David Chen's office with a banker's box full of financial records. David reviewed everything with the methodical precision that made him expensive and effective. This is bad, he said finally. Worse than I thought. How bad? Your wife has committed multiple felonies, fraud, forgery, identity theft. If the district attorney wanted to prosecute, she could be looking at serious prison time. I don't want her in prison. I want her out of my life. That can be arranged. With this evidence, we can get you everything. The house, the business, probably alimony from her. She won't fight it because she can't afford to have this go public. How long? If she doesn't contest it? 60 days. Do it. That afternoon, I drove to Chase's house. His red Porsche was in the driveway, which meant he was home. Perfect. I parked across the street and called his number. He answered on the second ring, his voice smooth as expensive whiskey. Chase Bronson. This is Tom Garrison. I think we need to talk. A pause. About what? About my wife. And your car. And the $60,000 you've stolen from my family. Another pause. Longer this time. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. The Porsche loan. The credit cards. The fake business development loan. Should I go on? Look, Tom, I think there's been a misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding is that you thought I was stupid. I'm not. What do you want? I want you to stay away from my wife. I want you to pay back every cent you've stolen. And I want you out of my town. He laughed, but it sounded forced. Or what? Or I make your life very uncomfortable. Is that a threat? It's a promise. I hung up and waited. Within 5 minutes, Chase came out of his house and got in the Porsche. He drove past my truck slowly, trying to get a look at me. I waved. That evening, I told Randy I had to work late on a foundation pour. She seemed relieved, which should have hurt but didn't. I was past hurt now. At 10 p.m., Cal's tow truck pulled up to the restaurant where Chase and Randy were having dinner. I'd followed them there earlier and confirmed the Porsche was in the parking lot. The tow truck driver, a guy named Eddie who owed Cal a favor, hooked up the Porsche with professional efficiency. He had all the proper paperwork, a copy of the loan documents showing Randy as co-signer, a default notice, and a repossession order. The whole thing took less than 10 minutes. I followed the tow truck to a storage yard on the outskirts of town where the Porsche would sit until the loan was resolved. As we were finishing the paperwork, my phone rang. "Tom," Chase's voice was furious. "What the hell did you do?" "I protected my wife's credit rating. The loan was in default. You can't just steal my car. It's not your car. It's the bank's car. My wife co-signed the loan, which makes her responsible for the debt. When you stop making payments, you put her credit at risk. This is bullshit. I'm calling the police." "Go ahead. I have all the paperwork. Everything's legal." He hung up, probably to call Randy. My phone rang 30 seconds later. "Tom, what have you done?" Randy's voice was shrill with panic. "I took care of your loan problem. The Porsche has been repossessed to protect your credit." "You can't do that." "I already did. The car is in secure storage. When the loan is paid off, Chase can have it back." "How much is the loan?" $34,900, plus late fees and storage costs. Call it $37,000, the same amount she'd asked me for in student loans. "Tom, please. You don't understand." "I understand perfectly. Come home. We need to talk." She arrived an hour later, her face red from crying. Chase was with her, looking like he wanted to punch something. "Get off my property," I told him. "This is between me and you," Chase said, stepping closer. He was bigger than me, younger, and probably thought he could intimidate me. He was wrong. "No, this is between you and the law. You've committed fraud, theft, and probably a dozen other felonies. The only reason you're not in jail is because I haven't called the police yet." "You can't prove anything?" I pulled out my phone and showed him photos of the financial documents Jill had compiled. Bank records, forged signatures, credit applications with false information. "Want to see more?" His face went pale. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued. "You're going to pay back every cent you've stolen. You're going to stay away from my wife. And you're going to leave town. If you don't, I'll make sure every person in this county knows exactly what kind of man you are." "Tom, please," Randy said. "Can we just talk about this inside?" "We can talk. He can leave." Chase looked at Randy, then at me, then back at Randy. "This isn't over," he said. "Yes, it is." After he left, Randy and I sat in our living room, the room I'd built in the house I'd paid for, and had the conversation that ended our marriage. "How long?" I asked. "Tom, how long have you been sleeping with him?" She twisted her wedding ring so hard I thought she might break her finger. 8 months. "Do you love him?" "I thought I did. And now? I don't know. This whole thing is so messed up. You stole $60,000 from our family to fund your affair. How did you think it would end? I was going to pay it back. With what money? Chase has deals pending, big developments. He just needed some short-term financing. Chase is broke, Randy. Worse than broke. He's been running a con game on multiple women, including you." "That's not true." I showed her the documents Sophia had given me. The other victims, the failed businesses, the pattern of fraud. She read in silence, her face growing paler with each page. "Oh God," she whispered. "What have I done? You've destroyed our marriage. Probably ruined your credit. And made yourself an accessory to multiple felonies. Can we fix this? Can we work it out?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw a stranger. The woman I'd married was gone, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. I filed for divorce this morning. She started crying then, the kind of deep, body-shaking sobs that might have moved me a week ago. Now they just sounded like noise. Tom, please. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But we can get past this. No, we can't. I'll do anything. I'll pay back the money. I'll never see Chase again. You'll move out, tomorrow. This is my house too. Actually, it's not. I built this house before we got married. It's separate property. My lawyer confirmed it this afternoon. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. You're throwing me out? I'm protecting what's mine. Just like you protected what was yours when you chose Chase over me. The next morning, Randy packed her bags while I was at work. She left her wedding ring on the kitchen counter with a note that said, I'm sorry. Sorry didn't pay back $60,000. Sorry didn't rebuild 15 years of trust. Sorry was just a word. But it was a start. The divorce papers were served on Wednesday morning while Randy was teaching her 7 a.m. class. I wasn't there to see it, but Kendra called me 20 minutes later, her voice dripping with fake concern. Tom, honey, what's this about divorce papers? Randy is just devastated. I'm sure she is. Don't you think you're being a little hasty? Marriage is about forgiveness. Tell that to my wife. Or better yet, tell it to Chase Bronson. Kendra's silence told me she knew more than she was letting on. In a town like Fredericksburg, secrets were currency, and Kendra dealt in premium gossip. People are talking, she said finally. Let them talk. It's not good for business. Randy's business or yours. My business is fine. Can't say the same for hers. I hung up and got back to work. The Henderson project was behind schedule, and I had bills to pay. Life went on, even when your marriage was imploding. That afternoon, Cal called with news. Chase is getting desperate. He tried to break into the storage yard last night to get his car back. Did he succeed? Security cameras caught everything. Eddie filed a police report. Your boy Chase is looking at breaking and entering charges now. Good. There's more. Sophia Reeves wants to meet with you again. Says she has new information about Chase's exit strategy. Set it up. I met Sophia at the same coffee shop in Dripping Springs. She looked tired but determined, like someone who'd been fighting a long war and finally saw victory within reach. Chase is panicking, she said. He's been calling his other victims, trying to get them to wire him money for a business emergency. Any luck? The widow in San Antonio told him to go to hell. The realtor in Austin is considering it, but I talked her out of it. How? I showed her the same documents I showed you. Amazing how quickly love dies when you realize you're dating a con man. She slid another folder across the table. This is what I really wanted to show you. Inside were bank records, travel receipts, and what looked like a real estate listing. Chase bought a one-way ticket to Denver for Friday morning. He's also put a deposit on a condo in Vail. With what money? That's the interesting part. The deposits were made with a cashier's check from Hill Country Bank. Your bank. My blood went cold. How much? $25,000. The same amount as the fake business development loan Randy had co-signed for. He's cashing out, I said, and leaving your wife holding the bag for all the debt. She'll be bankrupt within 6 months. I studied the documents, my mind racing. Chase was planning to disappear in 2 days, taking $25,000 of my money and leaving Randy to face the consequences of their affair. Part of me wanted to let it happen. Let her learn the hard way what happened when you trusted a con man. But another part of me, the part that had loved her for 15 years, couldn't stand by and watch her be destroyed. What do you want me to do? I asked Sophia. Help me stop him. For good. How? I have a plan. But I'll need your cooperation. She outlined her strategy. It was risky, possibly illegal, and definitely satisfying. It would also require me to work with my soon-to-be ex-wife. I'll think about it, I said. Don't think too long. He flies out Friday morning. That evening I called Randy. She was staying at Kendra's house, according to the town gossip network. We need to talk, I said when she answered. Tom, if this is about the divorce, it's about Chase and the $25,000 he's about to steal from you. Silence. Meet me at Murphy's bar in an hour. Come alone. She was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with a glass of white wine she wasn't drinking. She looked like she'd aged 5 years in the past week. You look terrible, I said, sitting across from her. Thanks. You always know what to say to make a girl feel special. Despite everything, I almost smiled. The sarcasm was vintage Randy, the woman I'd fallen in love with before she became obsessed with status and money. Chase is leaving town Friday morning, I said. Denver. He's taking your money with him. That's not true. He wouldn't. I showed her the documents Sophia had given me. She read them twice, her face growing paler with each page. Oh, God, she whispered. He's really going to leave me. With all the debt in your name. You'll be bankrupt within 6 months. What am I going to do? We're going to stop him. She looked up sharply. We? You and me. One last time. Why would you help me? After everything I've done. I thought about it. Why was I willing to help the woman who'd betrayed me, lied to me, and tried to steal my house? Because 15 years of marriage has to count for something. And because nobody deserves to be conned by a piece of garbage like Chase Bronson. She started crying again, but quietly this time. What do you want me to do? Exactly what I tell you. No questions, no arguments, no second guessing. Can you do that? Yes. Then here's the plan. Thursday morning, Randy called Chase and told him she'd found a way to get more money. A lot more money. She claimed I'd agreed to a settlement that would give her half the value of the house, about $200,000, in exchange for a quick, uncontested divorce. Chase took the bait like a starving fish. That's amazing, baby, he said, his voice carrying clearly through the phone Randy had put on speaker. When can you get the money? The papers will be ready this afternoon. But Tom wants to meet with both of us first, to make sure there are no hard feelings. Where? The construction site on Ranch Road 1376, the Henderson project. He's working late tonight, wants to get everything settled. I don't like it. Sounds like a trap. Tom's not that smart. He just wants this over with. That stung, even though it was part of the plan. Okay, Chase said. What time? 8 o'clock. And Chase, bring the cashier's check. Tom wants to see that you're serious about paying back the money you borrowed. After she hung up, Randy looked at me with something that might have been respect. You really think he'll bring the money? His ego won't let him do anything else. He thinks he's smarter than both of us. Maybe he is. We'll find out tonight. The Henderson project was a custom home on 20 acres of hill country, half-finished and isolated from the nearest neighbors. Perfect for a private conversation. I arrived at 7:30 and set up the scene, floodlights positioned to blind anyone coming up the driveway. My truck parked where it could block the exit. Cal's truck hidden behind a pile of lumber, just in case things went wrong. Randy arrived at 7:45, looking nervous but determined. You sure about this? She asked. Too late to back out now. At exactly 8 o'clock, Chase's rental car, apparently he'd given up trying to get his Porsche back, came up the gravel driveway. I hit the floodlights, and he stopped the car, probably blinded by the glare. He got out slowly, one hand shading his eyes. Turn off the damn lights, Tom. Come closer. We need to talk. He walked toward us, and I could see he was carrying a briefcase. The money. Where are the divorce papers? He asked Randy. Right here, she said, holding up a manila folder. Tom's been very reasonable. Chase looked at me suspiciously. What's the catch? No catch. I want this over with. Then why meet out here? Why not at a lawyer's office? Because I wanted to have a private conversation, man to man. He laughed. About what? About the fact that you're a lying, stealing piece of shit who's been conning my wife for 8 months. His face went hard. Randy, what the hell is this? This is your reckoning, I said. We know about the plane ticket to Denver. We know about the condo in Vail. We know you're planning to disappear with her money and leave her holding the bag for all your debts. That's not true. Then prove it. Show us what's in the briefcase. He clutched it tighter. It's none of your business. $25,000 in cashier's checks. Money you stole from fraudulent loans. Money that's going to fund your escape to Colorado. You can't prove anything. I pulled out my phone and showed him photos of all the evidence Jill and Sophia had compiled. Bank records, loan documents, travel receipts, real estate listings. I can prove everything. The only question is whether I call the police or let you walk away. What do you want? I want the money, all of it, every cent you've stolen from my family. And if I refuse, then you'll be in jail by morning. Fraud, theft, identity theft, conspiracy. You'll be lucky to get out in 10 years. Chase looked at Randy, then at me, then at the briefcase in his hands. I could see him calculating odds, weighing options, looking for an angle. This is extortion, he said finally. No, this is justice. The extortion was when you seduced my wife and stole my money. Randy, tell him. Tell him we're in love. Tell him this is all a misunderstanding. Randy stepped into the light, and I saw something in her face I hadn't seen in months. Clarity. You were never going to take me with you, were you? She asked. Baby, of course I was. We talked about this. We talked about a lot of things. But you bought a one-way ticket to Denver. 1 ticket, not 2. I was going to send for you once I got settled. With what money? You'd have been gone with everything, and I'd have been left with all the debt. Chase's mask finally slipped, and I saw the real man underneath, cold, calculating, and completely without conscience. You're both pathetic, he said. A cheating wife and a cuckold husband. You deserve each other. That's when I hit him. I'm not proud of it. I'm not a violent man, and I'd never hit anyone in anger before. But something about his smug, arrogant face and the casual cruelty of his words pushed me over the edge. The punch caught him square in the jaw and dropped him like a sack of cement. The briefcase went flying, spilling cashier's checks across the construction site. Tom! Randy screamed. Chase rolled on the ground, holding his face and cursing. You broke my jaw! I'm calling the police. Go ahead, I said, rubbing my knuckles. Explain to them why you're carrying $25,000 in stolen money. He struggled to his feet, still holding his jaw. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Take your rental car and drive to the airport. Get on your plane to Denver, but leave the money. I'm not leaving without... You're leaving with your freedom. That's more than you deserve. Chase looked at the scattered money, then at Randy, then at me. Finally, he walked back to his rental car. You'll regret this, he called out as he drove away. I doubt it. After he was gone, Randy and I collected the cashier's checks by flashlight. $25,000, just as Sophia had said. What happens now? Randy asked. Now you take this money and pay off every fraudulent loan Chase talked you into. You clean up the mess you made. And then we get divorced and try to rebuild our lives. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. Tom, I'm so sorry. For everything. I know. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? I looked at her in the harsh glare of the construction lights. The woman I'd loved for 15 years. The woman who'd betrayed me for a con man's promises. Maybe someday. But not today. She drove away with the money, leaving me alone at the construction site. I turned off the floodlights and sat in my truck, looking out at the dark hills and thinking about the future. My phone rang. California. Everything okay? I heard some yelling. Everything's fine. Chase is gone. For good? For good. And Randy? She's cleaning up her mess. Then we're getting divorced. I'm sorry, Tom. Don't be. Some things need to end before new things can begin. I drove home to my empty house. The house I'd built, the house I'd saved, the house where I'd start over. Tomorrow I'd go back to work, back to building things that lasted. Tonight, I'd just sit on my back porch and enjoy the silence. Friday morning brought the kind of thunderstorm that makes smart people stay indoors and fools think they can outrun lightning. I was neither smart nor foolish, just a man with work to do and a marriage to bury. The call came at 6 a.m., while I was drinking coffee and watching rain lash against my kitchen windows. Tom, it's Sophia. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Chase didn't get on his plane. His flight left Denver 2 hours ago without him. I felt ice in my veins. Where is he? I don't know, but his rental car is still in town. Someone saw it at the Comfort Inn around midnight. Chase was supposed to be gone. Our confrontation last night was supposed to end with him slinking away to Colorado, broke but free. Instead, he was still in Fredericksburg, probably planning something stupid. Any idea what he's up to? Nothing good. I'll keep looking. After Sophia hung up, I called Cal. I need you to do a welfare check on Randy, I said. Chase is still in town. You think he'd hurt her? I think a desperate con man with a broken jaw and no money might do anything. I'm on it. Cal called back 20 minutes later. She's not at Kendra's house. Kendra says she left around 11 last night and hasn't been back. Try the studio. Already did. Locked up tight. A cold fear settled in my chest. Randy might have betrayed me, lied to me, and tried to steal from me. But she didn't deserve whatever Chase might have planned. I'm going to look for her, I said. Tom, if Chase has her, then I'll deal with Chase. I drove through the storm-lashed streets of Fredericksburg, checking every place I could think of. The studio, the wine bar, the hotel where she might be staying. Nothing. My phone rang as I was pulling out of the Hampton Inn parking lot. Tom, Randy's voice was barely a whisper. Where are you? I'm at the house. Our house. Chase is here. Are you hurt? Not yet. But Tom, he's got a gun. The line went dead. I called 911 while driving toward my house, the truck sliding on wet roads as I pushed it faster than was safe. 911, what's your emergency? Armed intruder at 1247 Ranch Road 473. Shots may be fired. Are you at the location now, sir? I'm 2 minutes away. My wife is inside with the intruder. Sir, do not approach the house. Wait for law enforcement. I hung up and kept driving. My house sat on a hill overlooking the valley, accessible by a single winding driveway. As I came around the last curve, I could see Chase's rental car parked next to Randy's BMW. The house was dark except for a single light in the living room. I parked at the bottom of the hill and approached on foot, using the storm for cover. The rain was coming down in sheets, turning the carefully landscaped yard into a muddy mess. Through the living room window, I could see Chase pacing back and forth, gesturing wildly with something in his hand. Randy was sitting on the couch, perfectly still. My phone buzzed with a text. Come inside. Alone. Or she dies. I circled around to the back of the house, using the key I'd hidden under the deck steps. The mudroom door opened silently. I'd built this house, and I knew every squeak and groan. Tom, is that you? Chase's voice carried from the living room. I'm here. Come join the party. Slowly. I walked through my own house like a stranger, hyper-aware of every sound and shadow. Chase was standing behind the couch where Randy sat, a pistol pressed against the back of her head. You look like shit, I told him. His jaw was swollen and purple where I'd hit him, and his expensive clothes were wrinkled and stained. Thanks to you. What do you want, Chase? I want my money back. All of it. What money? You mean the money you stole? I mean the money you stole from me last night. $25,000. That wasn't your money. It was money you conned from innocent women. Semantics. He pressed the gun harder against Randy's head, making her whimper. I want it back. I don't have it. Then get it. From where? It's Friday night. The banks are closed. You're a resourceful guy. Figure it out. I looked at Randy, trying to read her expression. She was terrified but alert, her eyes darting between me and Chase. Let her go, I said. This is between you and me. She's my insurance policy. Besides, she's the one who got us into this mess. By falling for your con? By being a greedy, dissatisfied wife who wanted more than her boring husband could provide. The words stung because there was truth in them. Randy had been dissatisfied, had wanted more excitement, more luxury, more everything. Chase had simply offered her what she thought she wanted. You're right, I said. She made bad choices. We both did. Finally, some honesty. But that doesn't give you the right to steal from her, or threaten her with a gun. I'm not threatening anyone. I'm negotiating. With a loaded weapon? It's not loaded. He was lying. I could see it in his eyes, hear it in his voice. The gun was loaded, and he was desperate enough to use it. Okay, I said. You want the money? I'll get you the money. How? I've got cash in the safe. Emergency fund. About $15,000. That's not enough. It's what I have. Take it or leave it. Chase considered this, the gun never wavering from Randy's head. Where's the safe? Upstairs, master bedroom. We'll all go together. Nice and slow. We moved through the house like a funeral procession, me in front, Randy in the middle, Chase behind with the gun. Up the stairs I'd built, down the hallway I'd painted, into the bedroom where my marriage had died. The safe was built into the wall behind a painting of the Texas hill country. I'd installed it myself when we first moved in, back when I thought I was protecting our future. Open it, Chase ordered. I punched in the combination and swung the heavy door open. Inside were important documents, some jewelry, and about $12,000 in cash. That's not $15,000, Chase said. It's what I have. Not good enough. He grabbed Randy's arm and pressed the gun against her temple. What else is in there? Papers, insurance policies, my will. Jewelry? Some. Get it out. All of it. I removed Randy's jewelry box, my grandfather's watch, and a few other valuables. Maybe another $3,000 worth. Still not enough, Chase said. It's everything I have in the house. Then we'll have to get creative. He forced us back downstairs, the gun never leaving Randy's head. In the living room, he made her sit back down on the couch while he paced and thought. Your business account, he said finally. You can transfer money online. Not without going to the bank. I don't do online banking for security reasons. Bullshit. Check my computer if you don't believe me. He did, keeping the gun trained on Randy while he searched my laptop. No banking software, no saved passwords, nothing that would give him access to my accounts. You're smarter than I thought, he said. Smart enough to protect myself from people like you, but not smart enough to keep your wife happy. The barb hit home as he'd intended. You're right. I failed as a husband, but you failed as a human being. Spare me the moral lecture. Thunder crashed outside, so loud it shook the windows. The storm was getting worse, and I could hear sirens in the distance. The police were coming, but they might not arrive in time. Chase, Randy said quietly. Please, just take the money and go. It's not enough. It's enough to get you out of Texas. You can start over somewhere else. With $15,000? Do you know how much I owe? That's not our problem anymore. He laughed bitterly. It became your problem when you decided to play house with me for 8 months. I made a mistake. We both did. The only mistake I made was trusting either of you. The sirens were getting closer. Chase heard them too, his head snapping toward the window. Shit. You called the cops. I called them when I realized you had a gun, I said. How long before they get here? 5 minutes, maybe less. He grabbed Randy and hauled her to her feet. Then we're leaving. All 3 of us. Where? Anywhere but here. He forced us toward the front door, but I'd had enough. 15 years of marriage, 8 months of betrayal, and now some 2-bit con man thought he could hold us hostage in my own home. No. Chase stopped. What? I said no. I'm not going anywhere with you. I've got the gun, Tom, and I've got nothing left to lose. I turned to face him, ignoring the weapon pointed at my chest. You want to shoot me? Go ahead. But you're not taking her anywhere. Tom, don't, Randy whispered. He's not going to shoot anyone, I said, never taking my eyes off Chase. Because he's a coward. Always has been. He preys on lonely women and steals their money because he's too weak to make it on his own. Chase's face twisted with rage. Shut up. You couldn't even leave town when you had the chance. You had to come back and try to squeeze more money out of us, because you're pathetic. I said shut up. Make me. The gun wavered in his hand. I could see him struggling with the decision, weighing his options. Kill me and spend the rest of his life in prison, or let me go and try to escape with whatever money he could grab. The sirens were louder now, probably turning into my driveway. Time's up, Chase. He looked at the gun, then at Randy, then at me. Finally, he threw the weapon on the floor and raised his hands. This is all your fault, he said. Both of you. No, I replied. This is all your fault. You made the choices that brought you here. The police burst through the front door 30 seconds later, weapons drawn and voices shouting commands. Chase surrendered without resistance, probably calculating that cooperation might earn him a lighter sentence. As they led him away in handcuffs, he looked back at us one last time. You think you've won? He called out. You'll never trust each other again. I've destroyed your marriage just as much as you've destroyed my life. He was right about that. Whatever Randy and I had once shared was gone forever. But that didn't mean he'd won. After the police finished taking our statements, Randy and I sat in my living room, exhausted and emotionally drained. The storm had passed, leaving behind the clean smell of rain-washed air. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For saving my life. You're welcome. Tom, I know things can never be the same between us, but they can't. And they shouldn't be. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. What happens now? Now you go back to Kendra's house. Tomorrow we finish the divorce proceedings. You pay off the debts you created, and we both try to move on. I'll pay you back. Every cent. I know you will. And Tom, I really am sorry. For everything. I looked at her one last time, the woman I'd loved, the woman who'd betrayed me, the woman I'd risked my life to save. I know that too. After she left, I sat on my back porch and watched the sun come up over the hills. The storm had washed the air clean, and everything looked fresh and new. My phone rang. California. Heard you had some excitement last night. You could say that. Chase in custody? For a long time, I hope. Kidnapping, armed robbery, probably a dozen other charges. And Randy? Alive and well. We're getting divorced next week. I'm sorry, Tom. Don't be. Some endings are actually beginnings. I hung up and went inside to make coffee. I had a house to finish building, a business to run, and a life to reconstruct. It wouldn't be easy, but it would be honest. For the first time in months, That felt like enough. Chase Bronson was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison for fraud, theft, and kidnapping. Randy paid off all the fraudulent debts and kept her Pilates studio, though her clientele dropped significantly once the story became public. We were divorced 60 days later, exactly as David Chen had predicted. I kept the house, the business, and my self-respect. 6 months later, I ran into Sophia Reeves at the grocery store. She was buying wine and looked happier than I'd ever seen her. "Tom, how are you doing?" "Good." "You?" "Excellent. Did you hear about Chase's other victims?" "What about them?" "They're getting their money back. The federal prosecutor seized all his assets and is making restitution. Turns out our little sting operation provided crucial evidence for the case." "That's great news." "It is. And Tom, thank you. For everything." "Thank you too." As I drove home that evening, I thought about justice and revenge, about love and betrayal, about the difference between getting even and getting on with your life. I'd chosen to get on with my life. It was the right choice. The house was quiet when I got home, but it was a peaceful quiet now, not the tense silence of a failing marriage. I sat on my back porch with a beer and watched the sun set over the hills I'd called home for 20 years. Tomorrow, I'd start work on a new project, a custom home for a young couple just starting out, full of hope and dreams and the belief that love could conquer anything. Maybe they were right. Maybe they'd be different. Maybe they'd build something that lasted. I hoped so, but if they didn't, I'd be here to help them pick up the pieces and start over. Because that's what I did. I built things. And sometimes, the most important thing you can build is a second chance.